what I think about right now with this current war is that the physical attack is really not the main attack when you're dealing with a framework like asymmetric warfare. The main attack, and this is something we've seen with 9/11. 9/11, the physical attack was just the opening shot. The real attack was the 20 years that came afterwards of delegitimization, the establishment of narratives that are corrosive, that eat from within, the narrative about America being a colonial power, inverting essentially all of the most fundamental values in a society to attack it from within, delegitimize it, and destabilize it. That's the real goal, because of course, Al-Qaeda could never actually damage the United States physically or militarily. So what do? They turn to the world of ideas. This is exactly what we've seen happen over the last year or so with regard to Israel, where a massive, organized, coordinated campaign has been established and rolled out to attack Israel at its very fundamental basis, which is its core legitimacy. We're no longer talking about who should get what in a potential deal in regarding Israel and the Palestinian territories. We're now talking about Zionism as a post-colonial settler enterprise, all these sort of made-up terms that have been retailed for the public and get people really fired up, especially in the West, because in the West there's sort of no longer this coherent corporate identity that people can work towards. They're looking for stuff outside, and they find it in these foreign wars and foreign things that can inspire people and make them feel good about themselves. But one other thing I would say on that regard is that Israel, and this is something that people in the West, I think on both sides really miss, is that it's just a different sense of identity than what we have in the West today, where, you know, a good friend of mine who is one of the smartest people I know, he's probably someone that a lot of people you will know from his activity on social media, said to me right after the war, Israel should do nothing. It should not respond at all. And this just fundamentally misses who Israelis are as a society, and also the kind of threat that they face. Where you have 1,200 people killed in one day, that means virtually every single person in the country has been affected directly. They know someone who was killed on that day, including myself. So the response is not just like a kind of, you know, let's shake it off and let's fight for the PR victory and let's see if we can achieve a moral victory here, because you can't. It's sort of baked in that you will never achieve public sphere moral victory, this sort of abstract concept. And what you're actually fighting for is actual victory, the way that wars are fought, when one side attacks another side and the other side responds, not by trying to win a sort of war on CNN or on NPR, but by defeating the other side and making sure that they no longer have the capacity to do the thing that they did initially. And this is something that I think Hamas also missed. This is like a big thing where Hamas had understood from Israel that the Israelis were mostly interested in containment. Their strategic vision was to contain Hamas, to continue to build within Israel, to build economically, socially, culturally, et cetera, and of course diplomatically. And Hamas, I think their vision for what was going to happen was that they would stage a shocking attack, Israel would reel, maybe there'd be a limited invasion or incursion, and within 2-3 months it would be over, and Sinwar would come out and declare victory, and everything would be amazing. What they missed is that on that day, the attack was so savage that they fundamentally changed their own enemy. And the enemy that they created was one that had to be determined to achieve victory, not to achieve PR wins. The Israelis learned that it was no longer about that. It was really just about going to the end so that you achieve the goals of the war. And it doesn't sound good, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't feel good. But when you have 1,200 people killed in a single day, apparently for, you know, again, this can be justified in all sorts of manners. We talked about the occupation, which of course elides the deal that was made in 2000 that was responded to with a terror war. When that happens, the only thing left to do is to defend yourself and attempt to win. And this is something an idea that the West has given up on it in a lot of different ways by saying it's impossible, ideas live in people's heads, Hamas is an idea, you can never defeat an idea, so don't even try. But the reality is that you can win these wars, you can defeat an enemy. And this is one of the things I think will come out of this from Israel's point of view, which is to show the West that, especially with the fight against Islamism, you can defeat it if you try.